The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Frame, with exciting Vol sports prints now available.
This is The Sports Source, presented by Bill Hotz and Associates, and by Renewal by Andersen, with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source, presented by Bill Hotz and Associates. Happy to have you with us today as we talk Tennessee basketball. We talk signing day, wrap up. That's going to be interesting. Jeremy Pruitt said a lot about his program. We're going to react to that. A lot of stuff he said this week. Tyson Helton talked about the offense. We're going to tell you about that. New salaries are out there for the coaching staff. That'll be up on the show. Tons of information. Football, recruiting, basketball. We got it all. So stick with us. First segment brought to you by, of course, Bill Hotz and Associates. Everybody enjoys a good lawyer joke. Even the guys at Bill Hotz and Associates know plenty of lawyer jokes. But if you've been injured in a car accident by a careless driver, a good attorney is no laughing matter. Do what thousands of East Tennesseans have done over the last 30 years. That's called Bill Hotz and Associates, and be happy with the results. Bill Hotz and Associates, you see the website right there. These are good folks, been doing it for many years, and have taken care of a lot of East Tennesseans who were wrongfully injured in car accidents by careless drivers. Bill Hotz and Associates. Want to welcome in my associates. We have Mark Pankratz, our basketball analyst, former D1 basketball player, and of course former D1 assistant here at Tennessee under Bruce Pearl and Conzo Martin. We have Josh Ward right there, Mike Strange, Chuck Cavaleris. We got one more to join a little bit later in the show. Number 15 Tennessee had its 6-game unbeaten streak whooped last night. Alabama snapped it 78-50. They've been playing well on the road all year. This was kind of the slingshot back in the other direction, all in one outing. It was not pretty from the start. Tennessee shot 27% from the floor. Alabama shot 57% from the floor, mainly because they were in the paint all night. That pretty much sums it up. Mike Strange, last night on Twitter, I thought you summed it up perfectly. I'll let you explain.
Well, I just said it, I compared it to a little market correction comparing to what's been going on in the stock market this week. And I guess what I mean by that is a team that's picked 13th, 10th, whatever preseason pick you want to choose for Tennessee, to have won 8 out of 9, to be on a 6-game winning streak. You know, in the course of a long season, there's going to be a little bump in the road. So I think this was like a stock market correction. Nothing to panic about. It happens, and sometimes maybe it's even healthy.
I'm gonna have Mike come work with me.
That's right. All right, your thoughts on the market correction you saw, not the one you talked about in your daily life, but the one you saw last night on the basketball court.
Well, it came down to defense, and the defenses started with energy. I thought from the very start of that basketball game, Alabama had better energy. They were playing downhill the entire game, attacking the rim. 50 points in the paint. That's as many points as Tennessee scored all game. Our ball screen defense was not there, containing the ball handler. Yes, they've got some great players, but defensively, we were just not engaged in being able to control their guards.
One thing, that's what I was going to say. One thing you pointed to early in the season, you said, well, the issue for Tennessee is clearly when you got a team that's got 2 good, fast guards, they got issues defending against that. They were flat anyway. But Alabama, as you said last Sunday, when you do a scouting report every week for us, you said, watch out, they've got 2 good guards. And it came home to roost.
It did. And when you're shooting as poor as we are, we're shooting a lot of jump shots, and it's hard to defend sometimes. They got 12 fast break points. We had 0 because we're taking the ball out of the net half the time. So defensively, it was obviously not a very good game, but I think there were also some things exposed. Where's Jordan Bowden? How is he? He's 1 for 12. He's shooting, I think, 10 for his last 40. He's a guy that we need him to step up.
Josh Shuck, is this something to be concerned about? Obviously, no one's going to be celebrating a 28-point beatdown, but is there something to panic about?
No.
Is there something to be concerned about?
No more reason to panic about this, John, than it was the 0-2 start in the SEC. Every team over the course of a season is going to have a couple of clunkers. I mean, you had one at home against Auburn. You had one at Alabama. I mean, the book on Tennessee shut down the inside, and and run on them. Tennessee only had 16 field goals. How many times are you going to go on the road in the SEC and win with 16 field goals and 7 assists? I mean, it's just you just take your licking and come back home, work to get better.
Yeah, I don't think you overreact because you're still within the same week where you just won at Rupp Arena, where it's a hard-fought game where you weren't playing your best basketball. It's ugly in the first half. You have to get a big shot late, which Lamonte Turner provides. Then you have to get a defensive stop, which they were able to do. When you have Grant Williams coming out of the Alabama game saying we were soft, the fact that players recognize, and how could they not, but what went on and verbalize it, that tells me that you'll probably see Tennessee mentally check back in for the next game.
Tennessee, you just mentioned the win at Kentucky this week. Of course, that's the first time they've swept Kentucky this century. I realize we're only 18 years into the century, but still, 18 years is 18 years. It's been a while since Tennessee had swept Kentucky at all. It was funny last night on the social media front to watch, not everyone, but there are some people who I knew this team was a bunch of frauds. It's like, okay, let's dial it down. It's not that bad. Let's keep in mind, Alabama this year has beaten Auburn, Oklahoma, Florida, and Tennessee. It's a dangerous basketball team. And the other thing, a lot of folks say, this team isn't even ranked. Well, one, it's about matchups. In football, it's about matchups. In basketball, even more so. Even more so. I mean, you can. How many times, I can't say, we had a formula here on the show. These guys remember when you were coaching with Bruce Pearl. We could look at it. Depending on a team's tempo, we would know if they would give you guys trouble or not. If somebody played slow, that was not going to be an easy game for you guys. It was easy. It's matchups. And it's not about just looking at Alabama's ranking or non-ranking. That's a team that's dangerous. Right. I think it's a team that's playing hot right now, and I don't think anyone would want them come SEC tournament time.
Well, they just went to Florida and won. I mean, that's
big,
a pretty,
One big at Florida.
I think it's a better team than Kentucky, and I think Colin Sexton, the Alabama guard, is better than anybody Kentucky's got right now.
And he's been banged up most of the year. I mean, he's been dealing with an abdominal issue, and he's getting healthy.
Tennessee's also a team that's now targeted. Tennessee's a team that's competing for a 1, 2, 3 seed, which makes Alabama more motivated going up against Tennessee.
And that's the one thing as a coach where this type of performance can be an issue, because a team can see, all right, they struggled versus ball screens. They see which guys struggle with ball screens. Teams are going to study that now, and they're going to put those guys in those similar ball screens. They might not have as good of a player of a Colin Sexton, but that exposure, when you do let the pedal off the gas a little bit, next time you better be ready to guard those different offensive looks.
How many teams in the top 25 lost? 9 yesterday, and you've had Auburn lost earlier this week. Who else lost earlier this week? You've had a number of teams.
Duke, Virginia. I mean, you've had all
Villanova and Duke both lost to St. John's in the last week.
So it's not like this is a huge. This isn't going to take away Tennessee's seeding. We'll talk about that later in the game. I don't think it's a huge hit to their seeding. They are second in the SEC. This drops them back into a tie with Florida. Second place in the SEC, still 2 games behind Auburn. But in terms of losing big, this was another one that was out there. Good teams don't lose like that. All right, take a look at this graphic. A little perspective. We do this in football season a lot. If you take your eyes off your team and look around, plenty of teams in the top 20, 7 of them have a loss of 18 points or more. It's not nobody. I'm not saying ignore it, not saying celebrate it. I'm saying perspective. Just have a little perspective about it. Mark, very quickly sum it up here. If you're a coach coming out of that, if you're Rick Barnes, how do you use that game to get your guys' attention?
They had a 4.5-hour bus ride from Alabama last night because the plane didn't work.
Yep.
So I think he's going to use that from teaching point. They got a little bit too high on the horse, so to speak, and I think Barnes is going to bring them back to reality and watch that tape.
Okay, very good. We'll have you back a little later for a scouting report, and we'll talk more about Tennessee's NCAA tournament seeding with Mark later in the show. Coming up next, we're going to have a wrap-up of signing day, we'll ask the guys, would Tennessee's class have been helped if Jeremy Pruitt had left Alabama and come to Tennessee sooner? It's time to play the hindsight 2020 game. Come on back on the Sports Source.